in pursuit of health and wisdom. Sapio with Buck Joffrey.
We often talk about the role of high cholesterol in the development of cardiovascular disease, and it absolutely is a big part of it, right? But you know what I think goes very much underappreciated? The role of inflammation in cardiovascular disease. Now, cardiovascular inflammation can be measured using a marker called high sensitivity C-reactive protein, or HSCRP. Now, there's a good chance that your doctor may not even know about this, but research has found that it's actually a better predictor of heart-related deaths than even LDL cholesterol. Remember the bad cholesterol? While we have plenty of medicines that target cholesterol, we really haven't been treating the inflammatory part of cardiovascular disease nearly as aggressively over the past several years. But let's back up for those of you who like to get into the weeds a little bit more and understand the role of inflammation in cardiovascular disease. You've probably heard the term atherosclerosis. Basically, that's just the narrowing of arteries, and it is, at its core, an inflammatory condition. It starts when damage occurs to the inner lining of the artery, and that can occur from a number of factors, such as high blood pressure, smoking, or again, high levels of cholesterol. And then in response to that initial damage, the body's immune system dispatches white blood cells to the affected site, and that leads to inflammation. Over time, cholesterol, fats, and other substances will accumulate at that site of injury, and that forms what's called a plaque. As the plaque grows, it limits blood flow, the atherosclerosis part there, through the artery, and you can even get a rupture of that plaque, and that's when you get some blood clot possibilities and that block of blood flow entirely. In the heart, that is called a myocardial infarction, or in layman's terms, a heart attack. In the brain, that's called a stroke. So you might be thinking, well, why not take an anti-inflammatory medication to reduce cardiovascular disease then? After all, that's what I do when my back hurts and I'm inflamed there, so why not do the same thing? Well, that's actually a great question. In fact, aspirin, as you probably know, is used a lot in the cardiovascular therapy, and it's a type of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication. By the way, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication is often, we just call it NSAID for short. Anyway, it's often used and it's prescribed in low doses to reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes because of its antiplatelet effects. That's aspirin. However, oddly enough, other NSAIDs have actually been found to potentially increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. So they aren't used for this purpose. But there's another drug that's been around forever, and it's known best to treat gout. It's called colchicine, and research is now showing that it seems to have a lot of promise in potentially treating and preventing heart disease. In August of this year, the Journal of American Cardiology published a review on this topic, and in short, patients with heart disease who are already on recommended cholesterol medications like statins, when adding a low dose of colchicine, specifically 0.5 milligrams daily, were found to decrease the risk of major heart problems by an additional 25 to 30%. The idea here is that by reducing both cholesterol and inflammation, patients can get better protection against heart disease. In fact, as of June 2023, the US FDA gave the green light for low-dose colchicine to be used to lower the risk of heart attacks and related issues in certain at-risk adults. That said, colchicine isn't for everyone. If you have certain other conditions, for example, some people have problems with their kidneys, it may not be good for you, but it's certainly something to ask your doctor about, especially if you've already got some heart disease. In fact, for me personally, on my last Cardio IQ, which we talked about in multiple episodes on Sapio, even though my cholesterol was optimal, it was actually artificially lowered because of some of the things I'm doing, I did have a mild elevation in my HSCRP. Again, that was that inflammatory marker I mentioned before. And because of that, I'm strongly considering adding colchicine to my regimen as well. Now, I don't have a cardiovascular disease. I don't have cardiovascular disease, but I don't want it in the future either. And that's what I call playing offense. Anyway, that's it for this brief medical update. For Sapio with Buck Joffrey, I'm Buck Joffrey. If you like what I'm doing, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for listening to Sapio with Buck Joffrey. A quick reminder that while I am, in fact, a surgeon, nothing I say should be construed as medical advice. Now, make sure to include your physician in any medical decisions you make. And also, if you're enjoying the show, please make sure to show your support with a like, share, or subscribe. Until next time, this is Buck Joffrey for Sapio with Buck Joffrey.